Hello, I'm Michelle Jorgensen with a Mount Mahogany Steak Self-Reliance video. Today we have a particularly interesting topic to talk about, and that is sanitation. Now, sanitation is one of those things that just happens without us even thinking about it, right? Our toilets, our trash cans, everything just goes somewhere else and disappears, and we don't even have to worry about it going away. So in the event of a disaster or any kind of an emergency, we would all of a sudden have to think about these kinds of things, and we really need to know how to handle it. There's a quote from a man named Jim Phillips, and he said that sanitation is like a parachute. If done wrong, it leads to death. So I think that that's a really great, uplifting place to start, right? But it's actually true. The number one killer after a disaster is dysentery. Dysentery is lots of things moving through you way too fast, and people die from it. So how does dysentery and those kinds of things, how does that happen after a disaster? It's basically because all of us don't know what to do with waste, but waste still happens after a disaster. So that's what we're going to talk today about, is how do we take care of those things so that we can stay clean and safe and healthy after a disaster. Now, I just got back from Trek. Probably a lot of you watching this did as well. And it was amazing to me to realize I was on the food committee, and I didn't realize how fortunate I am to have running water at just, the touch of a button or the lift of a handle anytime I wanted. Because when I was on Trek, I didn't. So I would touch something and I'd think, well, I need to wash my hands. But I didn't have any way to wash my hands. It was really an interesting experience for me because it's so unlike what our normal everyday existence is like. These kinds of things that we're going to talk about are truly life-saving. When they had the huge disaster in Haiti, a lot of people died from dysentery and other kinds of diseases spread by microbial problems through human waste. Now, if you think about it, Haiti is actually ahead of us in knowing how to handle some of these things because they don't have the public services like we do. They don't have sewers. They don't have people that come and pick up their trash cans on the curb every week. So Haiti is actually ahead of us in knowing how to use pit toilets, latrines, those kinds of things. And they had so much death from this after their disaster because people don't know how to do them correctly. In the 20th century, we've had a huge increase in life expectancy, right? If somebody's born today, the chance of them living is so much higher than the chance of them living 100 years ago or more. And a lot of that has been contributed to antibiotics. But I actually believe, and a lot of experts do as well, that it's actually more due to sanitation improvements that we've made in the last century. In 1900, 50% of babies died from diarrhea. Isn't that amazing? 50%. If we lost 50% of our babies today, that would be, somebody would do something about it, right? That just doesn't happen. So we know sanitation has improved drastically in the last 100 years. When sanitation is poor, death and disease increase. So let's figure out how to not have that happen if we have some kind of a disaster that we have to handle. Now, studies have shown that 90 days after an emergency, particularly large emergency, say an earthquake, 7.0 in magnitude or so, 90 days after that, 40% of us would still be without water. Think about that, 90 days. That's 3 months' time. So we need to know how to handle these things because if anything were to happen, we would have to handle these things. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I am not an expert in sanitation. I've studied a lot, I've learned a lot, but I'm not an expert. So on the website, and if you need to remember where that is, that's that stands for Mount Mahogany, Steak, selfreliance.com. Go to that website. I have put on there a ton of information this month. Things that you can watch, things that you can learn from, recipes for homemade soap, all kinds of things. So go on there and learn from the experts. I'm just going to give you the basics, the things that you need to know to be able to store so that you're prepared. So the first thing that we need to talk about is human waste. We love to talk about human waste, don't we? But we need to. So in the event of a disaster, you need to convert your toilet to what's called a dry toilet. So I'm going to tell you very simply how to do this and what to store so that you're able to do that. The first thing you need to do is turn off the water to that toilet. Then the water inside the tank of the toilet is clean. The water inside the bowl of the toilet is not. So when you turn off the water, keep flushing it and you can plunge it and you can get rid of all the water down the drain that's the dirty water in the bowl. But keep the water in the tank so it's clean. Use that water to actually sanitize the bowl and clean it out and save the rest of that water if you don't need it all to clean the toilet. That water is actually usable for things like laundry and that kind of thing. So you're going to clean that toilet out first, then you're going to plug the bottom of the toilet, the hole down at the bottom where things go, you're going to plug it. The best way to do it is with a rubber ball or with a cotton rag covered in shortening. You want to be able to get this out someday probably, so cover it with some kind of grease on the end and plug that hole tightly. Then you're going to put a garbage bag in there, the first garbage bag you're going to put in there is one that's really tough. The very best kind is a trash compactor bag. This is actually my sanitation kit, and we're going to talk about that. So in here, I have trash compactor bags. They're very, very thick. So you're going to want to store some trash compactor bags. That's the first bag that goes inside of your toilet. So you line the toilet with that. You put down the top ring so that it kind of seals it in. Then you're going to put a second garbage bag inside of that that's a thinner garbage bag. That's the bag that you're going to actually be putting stuff in and then removing later. So you use that. When you use the toilet, you're not going to put number one in there. You're not going to put anything liquid. You're only going to put the other stuff in there. So anything liquid has to go somewhere else. There's lots of different ways you can do it. You can have a jar next to the toilet that's where you go. That's where you go into. Women, it's a little tougher for us, right? So there's things like this. I've never opened this box before, and I'm really kind of hoping I don't ever have to. But what this is called a urine diverter. So it helps women be able to use something like a urinal. I know, crazy. But that is something that you can have on hand in case we ever have to do that. So you don't want anything wet in the toilet now. When you go in the toilet, you're going to add some kind of organic matter on top of it. So that's sand, dirt, straw, sawdust, something like that. So have a bucket of that next to the toilet. So after you go, you put a little bit of that in there. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to control the smell immensely. So you're going to cover that over. Once it's, fairly full, you're going to take that smaller trash bag that's on the inside out, twist tie it, take it outside. Now here's the important part. If you just start dumping that anywhere, you're going to be in big trouble because you're going to have disease running rampant. Insects, mice, rodents, other animals will take that from where you've put it and move it somewhere else. So if you just dump it somewhere, you're going to be sick real soon. So what you do is you have to dig a hole. And some experts I saw said dig it 6 feet deep. I don't know if you need to dig it 6 feet deep, but the minimum I saw was at least a foot deep. You're going to open the bag, dump it in so that the fecal matter is in contact with the dirt because that's when the microbes start to do their business. Then you'll throw the bag on top of it because you really don't want to deal with that. And then you're going to cover it with some dirt, some straw, again, some organic matter. Now, you're not going to fill the whole hole with your first bag. You want to be able to do multiple bags in there. So you're going to cover it with a piece of cardboard, something like that, and then you're going to secure it very well because animals are going to want to get into that. I already know my dogs would go crazy with something like that. Why they like that, I have no idea. It's gross, but they do. So you need to secure whatever you use to cover it very, very well. So that's how you're going to cover it. You're going to dig that hole far from any kind of water source. If you think about it, we're all downstream from someone, and someone is downstream from us. So we need to be thinking about what is coming to us and what are we sending downstream, and we need to be very careful with where we put that. So make sure it's far away from any kind of water source or any kind of drain. So that's how you're going to take care of human waste and how to convert this dry toilet. Now, I also recommend having some kind of a portable toilet. So I love the name of this one. It's called a Luggable Loo. I actually have a couple of these, and the reason I really like this is because I can put my whole sanitation kit in here. So like you already saw, I have compactor bags, I have my regular trash bags. It has a toilet seat that's already part of the top of that, which I love. I don't know if it's super comfy, but hopefully you're not going to spend a lot of time there. It has some latex gloves. You also can put long gloves in there, which are nice to have. And duct tape. Duct tape is to use to secure that bag as you're carrying it out. Duct tape is to put the bag to secure it to your toilet. A little duct tape goes a long way with everything. So put that all in your Luggable Loo or some kind of portable bucket and something that has a lid on it. So that is the goal for this month, is that you get the materials necessary to be able to do a dry toilet and to be able to have a portable toilet. Now let's talk a little bit about reusable items. So I know my nephew right now is just on a mission in Africa, and they told him that toilet paper is optional. In my world right now, toilet paper is not really optional. I really kind of like toilet paper, but toilet paper takes up a lot of space, and it's going to be an expendable resource, meaning it's going to go away. So you have to have options for that. One of the things that, something that you can prepare ahead of time for is to create what's called personal cloth. And what they are is small squares of flannel material, and that's what you use to wipe with. Typically, they said that pioneer women would have 3 or 4 of those in a bag, and they would have it up underneath their skirt. So wherever they were, they would stop and they'd be able to use one of those personal cloths, and then every night they got washed. So it's totally foreign from what we do right now, but we would need to be okay with something like that, using these personal cloths and washing them every night so that we'd be able to reuse them the next day. So towels, obviously, towels are a little easier than paper towels, so have some reusable items with that. One that we don't like to talk about a lot, but that would be a very big deal, is feminine hygiene. So I want to show you a couple of things that I think are essential for storage for that. One is called, this is a version of it called a Diva Cup. And actually, this is great for everyday use, but not every day, but when you need it use. But this is something that I think will be absolutely essential for storage because you won't have reusable products. The other thing is reusable pads. So women, I've even thought ahead for my 10-year-old daughter, stored some of these things for her. These are going to be absolutely essential. So feminine hygiene is another item. So like I said, goal for this, oh, I didn't even talk about this, sorry. This is calcium hypochlorite. This is what you use for sanitation. So we talked in earlier videos about how Clorox is extremely shelf unstable. Once you've opened it, it's only good for about a year or less. So this bottle can make tens of thousands of gallons of Clorox. So this I keep with my sanitation kit as well. That way, if I need any kind of sanitation, I have it at the, at my fingertips ready to clean and sterilize anything that I have there. So goals for this week, or goals for this month, is portable toilet, supplies that go along with it, and those same supplies should also work to convert your toilet to a dry toilet. So like I said, this is not exactly the kind of topic that people like to learn about and like to talk about, but it's something that we have to learn about and have to talk about in case of any kind of disaster. So again, for lots more information than what I talked to you about today, mmsteakselfreliance.com. You're going to see all kinds of videos on there, all sorts of resources, links to other places. Go check it out. See what's on there. I think you'll find some things that you're interested in. Thanks so much for watching today.